What's up, you people? And welcome to Smiley G's Sports Station, a new channel that I just started. This be your boy Smiley G, the real Smiley G. Today we're going to talk about this GOAT debate that I've been hearing going around for a long time now. In my opinion, it's the most popular GOAT debate out right now. And it's between these two great basketball players that I have on the screen right now. But before I get started, please like and subscribe to the channel. And if you're feeling generous and want to help the channel grow, then you can donate via Cash App at Smiley G 2006 212212. The link will also be in the description below. And please feel free to comment with your opinions. Tell me, do you agree with what I'm saying or do you disagree? You know, I'm here for all the smoke. I like the smoke. But I'm just going to give you my honest, unbiased opinion about this thing. No. So let's get into it. This debate, been going around for roughly 10 to 15 years now. Now, I have 5 things, in my opinion, that really quantify you as to be the GOAT of basketball. And the first thing is you need to be a leader. And in order to be a leader, you have to also be able to take accountability. Now, this has been a thing that recently been going around lately. Matter of fact, I've been heard an article when people were basically witnessing what Reggie Miller said on the air one time. I want to say maybe a couple of games ago. And he was saying he liked what Anthony Edwards did, was he put the blame on himself for why the Minnesota Timberwolves couldn't get the job done against Denver in Game 3. He also brought up we have veterans in our game that's on a Mount Rushmore that are always blaming somebody else instead of taking their own fault as the leader of a team. Now, people try to, push it off like, he's not talking about. But we all know who he's talking about. He's talking about the guy on the screen on the left. And I have to agree with Reggie Miller said. I have never seen LeBron James out of the 21 years that he played in the NBA. I have never seen LeBron Ramon James take accountability for his team. Never. It's always the coach didn't make the right plays, or the officials made bad calls, or we need to trade him, and all that. It's always somebody else's fault. It's never on the mirror, the person in the mirror. And I'd be like, well, come on, LeBron James. I mean, you have faults too now. I mean, you missed the shot. Game 1 that would have won the game, but you missed that shot. That led to Jamal Murray hitting the game buzzer beater. Or just not even bringing it up. Let's just say a lot of times the 2011 meltdown. The worst meltdown by a great superstar, megastar player in NBA history. That was on you. You did that. Dwayne Wade didn't have a bad series. Chris Bosh didn't have a bad series. Only LeBron James had a bad series. So, where's the accountability? Where's the blame as a leader? He never takes accountability. That's number one. And to me, in order to be the GOAT, you have to be able to take accountability as a leader. Because you have to be a leader. To me, the GOAT means you need to be a leader. And you can't be a leader without taking accountability. Number 2, competition. Now, this is a little bit closer. I think both players had good competition. Now, a lot of people try to do this slander where I hear about we done with the 90s BS. Like Jordan didn't face nobody in the 90s. Well, it's kind of hard to not face nobody in the 90s where a majority of the records in NBA history are from players in the 90s. Karl Malone, number 2, he played in the 90s. Michael Jordan played in the 90s. Kobe played in the 90s. Majority of his career was in the 2000s, but he started in the 90s. Shaquille O'Neal played a lot of his career in the 90s. All the great big man era, those centers, they played in the 90s. That's what all the records and stuff come from. Hakeem Olajuwon, David Robinson, Patrick Ewing, all these are good centers. Power forwards, Karl Malone, Charles Barkley, KG, all these players, they started in the 90s. A lot of people want to say, well, Jordan didn't have no good guards he played against in the 90s. Well, I'm not going to say they was great as the 2000s. I mean, I believe the 2000s had the best guards in NBA history. I agree with that. But see, people fail to realize that Jordan played in an era where the 90s, the majority of the stars were big men. It was a big man's league. All the power forwards and centers were the best players in the 90s, not the guards and the wing players. So, people criticize Jordan because the rules were set for big men, in favor of big men, not in favor of guards, where now the rules are favored of guards. Freedom of movement, and no hard fouls, or no hand checking. Those rules in favor of smaller players, not big players. Jordan liked to go to the rim. He couldn't do that like as frequently as they do it now because you can't stand in the lane. Back in Jordan time, you stand in the lane all day and didn't guard nobody. You can't do that now. You can't just camp in the lane. You have to be in arm length of a player within 3 seconds. If you be not in arm length of a player longer than 3 seconds, they call you a defensive 3 seconds. So I think it's just unfair to say that Jordan didn't face no real competition when the rules were favored big men and not guards. Where now it's favored to guards and not big men. But I think it's beginning to go back to big men because I see this big men are starting to get better over the year because 2010s were a bad year for the big men. But it's starting to get better now. But I just think that overall now the league is soft. And to me, the softness is making players like love to shoot, which is we see a shooting league now, like Curry and Klay Thompson, all these players that shoot. Not saying they're not great players because Curry is a great player. But what I'm saying is a player back in the day, shooting was not the most important thing in any league in the 90s. Now in the 2010s, shooting gets the most important thing. But it also has to do with less physicality. Because there are people who are able to move freely and pull up a shot and dribble without people having to put their hands on them, roughing them up. Make it a lot easier to get a shot off like that than in the 90s where it was a little bit tougher to get a shot off. It's just my opinion. I think the league was way tougher now back in the 90s. They got hit more often. And I just think the competition is balanced. Now, you can say that LeBron James faced tougher competition in the NBA Finals. I can agree to that. I think that LeBron James did face tougher competition in the Finals. But it also plays a part because LeBron James allowed these teams to win a lot of times in the final. And Jordan didn't let his teams win in the final. So people discredit Jordan's team because they didn't win and LeBron's team because they did win. So what if Jordan teams lost? What if Jordan lost to those teams in the 90s? Would they be better? Those are things you just need to think about. Now the next thing, stats. This is one of the things that I think is the most trickiest out of all the five that I'm about to name. The stats. And what I come to realize now that people like to use the total stats or cumulative stats. LeBron James is, first player in NBA history. He's not an all-time leading scorer, but he's the first player in NBA history to score 40,000 points in a career. That is a great accomplishment. All props and all kudos to him. But let's keep it real. Let's keep it above. Before LeBron James was the all-time leading scorer, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was the all-time leading scorer. And I don't care what nobody says. Nobody. I've been watching basketball for quite a while now. In the 90s, 2000, all that. I never heard an analyst on TV says that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was the best player in NBA history because he had the most points scored in his career. But now all of a sudden, when LeBron James beats Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's record, now he's the best player in the NBA because he's the all-time leading scorer. I mean, something don't matter. The math ain't mathing to me. In that case, let's do it like this. Why is Karl Malone not counted as one of the greatest players of all time? Nobody has him in his top five, and he's number 2 all time in scoring. Well, you want to use because he don't have no rings? I guess you can say that. But let's just lose another argument. Since if you want to use that, let's use this. Let's use this logic. John Stockton. He's the all-time leading assist leader. Total. He has the most assists in his career with over 15,000. No one calls John Stockton the best point guard in the league because he has the most assists of all time. The most person who averaged the most assists is Magic Johnson, who is a little over 10 assists a game. And that's who the majority of people will say is the best point guard of all time. And my thing is, to me, it always, until recent years, I guess, when LeBron James started getting the GOAT conversation, that averages was way more important than totals. Now the narratives have changed where totals are more important than averages. I mean, I don't know where that changed, when that changed, and why that changed. Just something kind of hard for me to take in. Then there's another thing that I hear people say about this. LeBron James scored more points than Michael Jordan with less shots. Anybody who hear that, a youngster hear that without no knowledge and no context will say, oh man, LeBron James is better than Jordan because he did it in less shots. Not really. Let's just put the full context of what that is. LeBron James in his career played an era where the league average score way more and make way more three-pointers than they did when Jordan played. Now, mind that 3 points is more than 2 points. So if LeBron James took and made more three-pointers than LeBron Jordan did, then he will have a chance to get more points for a shot than Jordan did because he's taking 3-point shots, whereas Jordan took way more 2-point shots. Now be mindful. 3 is more than 2. So if you take less shots, let's just give an example. If I were to take 15 shots and score 30 points, but you were to take 10 shots and score 30 points, in 3 games and I did mine in 1 game. You took less shots, yes, but I did it faster because I took more shots to get the same amount of points that you did and taking less shots in more games. I mean, the logic, it just, you can't use that without adding the full context. If I was to score 30 points in 15 shots in 1 game, but you take 10 shots in 3 games and only score 30 points, did that make you a better scorer, or that you did something way more and accomplished more than I did? No, it doesn't. Yes, you took less shots to get to 30, but I did it faster. And just because I took more shots, if I'm efficient, what does it matter? That means I'm efficient, so I'm going to take more shots because I'm efficient. I'm just not that I'm not efficient. Jordan took more shots because that's the shots that he took. He took it and got it the hard way, where LeBron took it and got it the easy way. And let's not forget about free throws. LeBron James has played 5 to 6 more seasons than Michael, and has taken way more free throws than made him so that helps his average. They don't take into factor to that. So I just think it's just disingenuous at best. Let's go to the next topic. This is the fourth thing I think is accomplishments. Now, this is a no-brainer. Jordan, in a lesser time, has accomplished way more than LeBron has. This is point blank. He has more finals, MVPs, 6 to 4. He has more championships, 6 to 4, and did it with less time going to the finals. LeBron been to the finals 10 times in his career. Jordan been 6 times. Yet Jordan has 6. LeBron has 4. So that means that LeBron lost 6 times in the finals. That's the most of a superstar, megastar player in NBA history, outside of, I want to say, Jerry West. Now, it could be more. One more person. I'm thinking it's just Jerry West, but it could be one more person. But just for the modern era of the last 40 years, he has lost more finals than any other NBA megastar in the last 40 years. 6 losses. Now, again, I'm not going to say all those losses on him. Not going to say all those losses on him because I think people say that LeBron faced tougher finals competition, which I agree with. I think LeBron did face tougher finals competition, again, like I said before. But you got to also say when LeBron James, in his own conference, faced weaker competition. Jordan faced tougher competition in his own conference and weaker competition in the finals. But let's not say they were weak, because even though they were weaker, it doesn't mean they were weak. It just didn't win because Jordan actually won his championship, where LeBron lost to make the teams that he lost to better. But just let's keep it a buck. When LeBron was getting to the finals those 8 straight years, he was going against teams like the Atlanta Hawks, led by Josh Smith, the Toronto Raptors, led by DeMar DeRozan, the Boston Celtics, led by Isaiah Thomas, and if you want to use the early years, old KG and Paul Pierce and Ray Allen. Who else? The Indiana Pacers, led by Paul George. These players are not mega stars. These are stars at best. Yet LeBron had a teammate in Miami that was arguably a megastar with him, with Dwayne Wade. But yet people want to say, I didn't have no help. Come on, LeBron James. This is a lack of accountability. It's like kryptonite to him. It is. He doesn't take accountability. Dwayne Wade won a title before you did. Dwayne Wade was arguably top 5, top 3 best players in the league when he first went to Miami. To just keep it a buck. Now when he loses, Dwayne Wade He wasn't all that. Come on now. Let's just keep it real. Then people like to shit on Jordan, saying Jordan didn't win before Scottie Pippen got there. Are we really doing this? Last time I checked, NBA, the basketball is a team sport. There's 5 players on the team, not just one. The years Jordan lost, let's bring it up. The years Jordan lost, 84-85 season, he played against the Milwaukee Bucks with Sidney Moncrief. This was a veteran team, great team, with Sidney Moncrief. I mean, there's no way that he was going to beat this team, that this team was a contender for the championship. Then the next year, he went against the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics, the 85-86 season, was known probably the best, one of the greatest teams of all time, with 5 Hall of Famers. 87, they also lost to the Boston Celtics. It was almost the same team. And they also went to the finals again, but this time lost to the Los Angeles Lakers. In the 1987-88 season was the year they drafted Scottie Pippen and Horace Grant. But let's just not act like when they got there they was doing something. They was not. Pippen didn't even average 10 points in the series when they went against the Cleveland Cavaliers that Jordan hit the shot on. He averaged over 40 points that series. So was Scottie Pippen really that spectacular? 88-89 season. Because they lost to the Pistons. They lost to the Detroit Pistons in 87-88. They lost to the Pistons in 88-89, and they lost to the Pistons again in 89-90. And Pippen was slowly getting better. Horace Grant too. But they still was not on the point where you can say that they were that guy. They just wasn't there yet. Pippen had the migraine in 1990, game 6, I think I want to say game 7 of the 1990 NBA Eastern Conference Finals against the Detroit Pistons. He had a migraine that hurt them. It kind of cost Chicago to win that game. I kind of believe that maybe, I'm not going to say that. I don't like doing hypotheticals, but they maybe could have had a better chance of beating Detroit that year if Pippen didn't have the migraine. But that's neither here nor there. All my thing is, when Pippen played for the Chicago Bulls, Pippen always had a team around him. Even when he got traded. In Houston, he had a team around him. With Charles Barkley and Hakeem Olajuwon, he had a team around him. In Portland, he had a team around him. Pippen never not had a supporting cast around him until he went back to Chicago, I want to say in 2004. Pippen has always had a team around him in his career. That's not the same case as Jordan. Jordan, when he first started, did not have any help. When he went to the Washington Wizards, he didn't have any help. And then another thing, and I'm going to move on after this. People like to say, well, look what LeBron James is doing at this age and what Jordan did at the same age. Again, they state things without adding full context. First of all, LeBron James has a better supporting cast for the Lakers than Jordan did for the Wizards. That's the first thing. Jordan did not have nowhere near a player as the caliber of Anthony Davis on his team. They're just facts. Again, basketball is a team sport. It's not 1-on-1. It's 5 against 5. You have to have a supporting cast. So, LeBron James has Anthony Davis. He's playing in the pace of the NBA where it's getting back to the fastest pace of NBA history, like back in the 60s, which 60s were the fastest pace in NBA history. And also, they scored the most points in NBA history. The NBA is going back towards that. The pace is getting way faster than in the early 2000s, late 90s. Teams are averaging during there 120 points a game now, where back in the day in the late 90s, early 2000s, they was somewhere around the high 90s, mid 90s range. So it's not the same. There's way more points to go about now than it is back in the day in the late 90s, early 2000s. Jordan averaged, I want to say, 25 points per game before he had got hurt and injured his knee in 2001, 2002 season. He ended up missing, I want to say, 20 games where he hurt his average. And then the next year, he was not the same player that he was beginning to look like the previous year. But he still managed to average 20 points at age 40. Now, 20 points in the late 90s and early 2000s, if you do the math, with the pacing and speed and more possessions that the league has now, that would be equivalent to around about 25 points, maybe a little bit more, in this era. I'm just keeping it facts. There's a lot of people, when they use stats, why you can't just use stats without adding context, because you have to add the full context. The pace was way slower in the late 90s and early 2000s, where now it's way faster. More possessions. The rules have changed to make it easier to score. They made it where offensive rebounds, you only get 14 seconds to score, where back in the late 90s, early 2000s, when you got offensive rebound, you had the full 24 seconds back. So it's a lot of things changed to help players now score more points, where back in the day it didn't. The defense is weaker now. And what I mean by weaker, I'm not meaning that the players are not as good as back in the day. What I mean by weaker, it is softer. The offense now has more of an advantage than back in the day. So it's making players easier to score points. You got players like Kevin Durant and Steph Curry. They in their mid-late 30s, yet they still averaging during the 30 points a game. That's not heard of in the late 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s. But the league is changing, where medicine's getting better. They're more smarter. They're laying off load management and making them so they can last longer. They're not taking as much punishment, so their body can last a little bit longer. It's just a lot of things to think about when you're talking about these new stats. That's why I don't like comparing eras, because of that reason there alone. Different rules. It's not the same. So that's all that is. Also, let's get to the next topic, because this is the last one. The last topic I have is weaknesses. And in my opinion, Jordan only has, one weakness. And to me, it's not really a weakness, but if a lot of people like to say it's a weakness. I just say he's average at it. And that's his three-point shooting. He wasn't a great three-point shooter. He wasn't a bad three-point shooter as in his prime. And what I mean by that, I'm saying his prime. Prime Michael Jordan. Prime Michael Jordan, I say, is around 1988 to around, I guess you'd say the last year in Chicago, 1998. So it's about a 10-year span. In those years, he was an average three-point shooter. And through those years, you can say that's the only thing that he was weak at. Another thing that you can, maybe two more things I can say that you can question. He was a gambler on defense. He liked to take a lot of chances on defense as far as stealing the ball. I don't think that's more of a weakness, because I think he had more positive than negative. But people will say that he's inconsistent sometimes because he liked to gamble a lot. And one other thing that he had earlier on that he got better at as he matured and got better, he became a team player. And Scottie Pippen, mentioned this. He touched on this. Tried to say that Michael Jordan was a horrible. He's a horrible player. He's a horrible player. I'm not going to go that far and say he was a horrible player, because horrible players don't average 37 points a game. But he was, I guess you could say, a little ball hoggerish or selfish. That I can say. He was a little ball hoggerish and selfish. And Jordan did have a little Kobe Bryant moment where before his Kobe Bryant, he had a game where he didn't want to shoot and he became passive to try to prove the media wrong about him not passing the ball. He had one of those episodes as well where he was very passive, didn't try to shoot the ball, and they ended up losing Detroit Pistons because of the reason. That's just how Jordan was. Now, that's the only weaknesses I can just say. And to me, I said none of them really to me was weaknesses because he got better at them. Now, to this day, LeBron James still has 3 noticeable weaknesses in his game that he hasn't even got better. And then you can say he has maybe in the shooting department, but it's still not great. It's still inconsistent. He's not a great shooter. Jordan maybe not had a three-point shot, but he was a great mid-range shooter. One of probably the best of all time. LeBron James, beyond 3 feet, is not a great shooter. Matter of fact, he's terrible. He's less than 40% from beyond 3 feet. Now, before you go to say, well, LeBron, he's field goal percentage higher than Michael Jordan. Yes. Come on, let's just keep it real. So is DeAndre Jordan and Tyson Chandler. Come on now. So is Dwight Howard and all these other big men. Rudy Gobert has probably a higher field goal percentage than Michael Jordan. But are we really saying Rudy Gobert is a better shooter than Michael Jordan? No, that's not how that works. LeBron James is almost like them. Not saying he's quite like them because he does shoot. But at the same time, in his prime, majority of his shots came from dunks, layups, and putbacks. That's what it was. Next thing, he's not a good free throw shooter. He's below average in free throw shooting. He come up short in the clutch all the time. Miss free throws, crucial moments, which go to the last thing. He's not really clutch. A lot of people have to say, well, he the clutchest. He made more close shots than any other player. That doesn't make you clutch. Because clutch means who are you playing against? How do you play in the last 2 minutes of a game? Not hitting a couple of shots total without you adding the context. Who did he hit those shots? Who you was hitting them on? Victor Oladipo, Indiana Pacers team? And then he did hit one against Atlanta Magic, who eventually went to the NBA Finals, but he still lost that series when he hit that shot. So that doesn't matter. The times that it came for him to hit shots, one previously, where he had one this year where he missed a 3-point shot in the last second, but then Jamal Murray came and hit his shot. He missed the shot. And the shot that he could have won the game last year against the Denver Nuggets in the Western Conference Final. He didn't even get a chance to get the shot off. He got blocked. And then another shot he had before that, he hit the side of the backboard. He's just not clutch, man. This man is not clutch. Please stop saying he's clutch. He's not. He always shy away. Pass the ball. I just made the right basketball play. Kobe Bryant and Carmelo Anthony got on one time in the All-Star game about trying to pass the ball instead of him taking the shot. The man is shy away from clutchness because he knows he's not that clutch. That's his weaknesses. And to me, in my opinion, because of all these 5 things, this is the reason why I say that Michael Jeffrey Jordan is the greatest basketball of all time. He's the greatest basketball player of all time. To what I've seen. I can't really say about Wilt Chamberlain because I wasn't born in that era to really do my due diligence of him. But to the player, I just want to say the player that I've seen. Michael Jeffrey Jordan is the greatest basketball player that I've seen. But with that, I'm going to leave y'all guys with that. Please like, subscribe, and comment if you like the channel, if you like the content. Please like and subscribe and comment because I'm taking all the smoke. With all that said, peace to your brothers and sisters.